was mid-pitch in the boardroom, laying out projections that could define the next 5 years of my career. The clients were nodding along. The numbers were solid. Then my phone buzzed once against the mahogany table, a short, sharp vibration that shouldn't have mattered. But I glanced down anyway. It was a text from my mother, Sandra. The preview lit up my screen, bright and merciless. Checking into the Cabo Villa with Bianca's family. Emptied the renovation fund. Bianca needs this for her vow renewal. Haha. I didn't blink. Didn't gasp. The room didn't spin. The renovation fund. $45,000. 5 years of saving, built up penny by penny to restore the family estate. In a single transaction. For a party. I looked back at the clients, forced a tight professional smile, and picked up my phone. My hand stayed steady. I typed 2 words. Good luck. Then I flipped the phone face down and finished my sentence without missing a beat. They thought they'd broken me. Thought I'd call, screaming and crying. But they forgot who I am. I'm not the daughter who begs. I'm the architect who builds. And when a structure's rotten, you don't patch it. You tear it down. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from right now. Have you ever gotten a text that changed your entire life in a single second? I need to know I'm not alone in this. The second the clients left, I walked straight to my office. Didn't stop for coffee. The office was quiet except for rain drumming against the Seattle pavement outside. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. My hands hovered over the keyboard, not in hesitation but preparation. This wasn't emotional. This was procedural. I logged into the joint bank account labeled Legacy Renovation. The screen loaded, numbers stark against the white background. Pending transaction, $12,500 for a presidential villa deposit. Below that, a transfer, $32,500 sent to an external account named Bianca's Big Day. I stared at the screen. There was no anger, not really. Anger's hot and messy. What I felt was cold, clinical, like looking at blueprints and realizing the foundation was poured wrong. You don't get mad at concrete. You just rip it out. I clicked on the transaction details. Since I was the primary account holder, I had administrative privileges they'd clearly forgotten about. I flagged the villa deposit as unauthorized fraudulent activity. Clicked reverse payment on the transfer. Then I went into account settings and froze every single linked credit card. As I watched the status change from active to frozen, I thought about the last 10 years. The dynamic in our house. Psychologists call it golden child and scapegoat, but in our family it was simpler. Bianca was the artwork, I was the frame. She was meant to be admired and protected. I was designed to hold her up. Sturdy, invisible, essential. They didn't see me as a person. They saw me as a utility, like electricity or running water. You don't thank water for running, you just get pissed when it stops. For years I'd paid for everything. The roof, property taxes, new siding, thinking I was investing in our family legacy. But staring at those frozen accounts, I realized I wasn't an investor. I was a resource. And resources get depleted. The screen blinked. Action confirmed. Accounts locked. The silence in my office was absolute. I didn't feel guilty. Felt light. The lightness of dropping a weight you didn't know you were carrying. They wanted a luxury vacation on my dime. Fine. But they were about to learn an expensive lesson about logistics. You can't live in a penthouse if you evict the architect. Closed my laptop. It was 12:03 p.m. The war had started, and they didn't even know they'd already lost. My phone didn't just ring, it exploded. For 10 minutes I watched it skitter across my desk, vibrating with manic energy. Ronald, Indra, Vanka, Felix. The names flashed in a desperate loop. I let it ring. I wasn't avoiding them. I was letting reality sink in. Letting the humiliation of a declined platinum card at a 5-star resort marinate. Finally, when the 16th call from my father came through, I answered. Adeline, what have you done? His voice was raw, distorted by bad reception and pure panic. We're at the front desk. There are 50 people behind us. The cards declined. They're saying the transfer was reversed. I leaned back in my chair. I know, I said, voice calm, almost bored. I reversed it. Are you insane? He was hyperventilating. I could hear the ambient noise of the resort lobby, confused guests and high-pitched sobbing that could only be Bianca. Fix this right now. Felix's parents are watching. You're embarrassing this family. I'm not the one who committed wire fraud, Dad, I said. You stole $45,000 from an account designated for construction. That's a felony. I'm just the one who reported it. We didn't steal it. We borrowed it. It's family money. My mother grabbed the phone. Bianca needs this. It's her vow renewal. How can you be so selfish? You have a good job. Your sister has a reputation to maintain. Are you really going to ruin her big day because you're jealous? Jealous. Their old reliable weapon. They thought I wanted their life. The fake tan and crushing debt of keeping up appearances. They didn't understand that I didn't want their life. I just wanted them out of mine. I'm not jealous, Mom. I'm solvent. And as of 12 minutes ago, you're not. If you want to stay in Cabo, use your own money. Oh wait, you don't have any. We'll write you out of the will, she shrieked. You're dead to us. The account's frozen pending a forensic audit, I said, cutting her off. Don't call me again unless it's to arrange a repayment schedule. I hung up and blocked every number. The silence that followed was heavy with shifted power. I picked up the office line and dialed the one person who'd understand. Stella, I said. It's done. They're stranded. I'm on my way, she replied. Bringing the good wine. And David's number. Stella arrived 20 minutes later, shaking out a dripping umbrella. She didn't ask if I was okay. She perched on the edge of my desk and poured 2 glasses. So, she said, did they cry? They screamed, I said. Threatened to write me out of the will. Cute, Stella said. Considering the only thing in that will is debt and delusions. She slid a piece of paper across the desk. David's ready to dig. But he told me to check the county clerk's office first. If they're desperate enough to steal cash for a party, they've probably done something stupid with the actual assets. I looked at her. The house, Stella confirmed. You've been paying the mortgage, Adeline. But when's the last time you actually looked at the title? Chill ran through me. I hadn't looked. I trusted the paperwork because I was the one writing the checks. Let's look, I said. I pulled up the King County Records database and typed in the family estate's address. The home I'd saved from foreclosure 3 times. I hit enter. Page loaded. And the floor dropped out. The screen glowed with cold blue light from the assessor's portal. I stared at the letters, hoping they'd rearrange themselves into something fair. They didn't. The property listing, the house I'd just spent $45,000 reshingling, had a new line item dated 6 months ago. Document type. Quitclaim deed. Grantor Ronald and Sandra. Grantee, Bianca Felix Moore. They transferred it, I whispered. They transferred the house to Bianca. Stella leaned over my shoulder. 6 months ago, she said, voice sharp with professional outrage. Right after you paid off the property tax lien. They waited until the title was clean, then signed it over to her. I scrolled down. There was a note about love and affection as consideration. Love and affection. That was the currency. I paid in cash. Bianca paid in existence. Made sick, twisted sense. They were terrified I'd sell it. They knew I was practical. So to protect the legacy, they gave the asset to the daughter who couldn't afford to change a light bulb, assuming the other daughter, the one with the spine, would just keep paying bills out of habit. They'd evicted me without ever asking me to leave. I was the bank but not the owner. Keep scrolling, Stella said. Look at the date 3 weeks after the transfer. I moved the cursor. A new document appeared. Deed of trust. Lender. A private equity firm specializing in high-risk loans. Borrower. Bianca Felix Moore. Amount. $150,000. The room tilted. She leveraged it, I said. She took out a loan against equity I built. $150,000 to fund a lifestyle she can't afford. And now that money's gone, Stella said. If they're stealing from the renovation fund, the loan money's dried up. Adeline, do you realize what this means? You're renovating a house drowning in secret debt. When she defaults on that loan, and she will, the bank takes the house. I stood and walked to the window. I thought I'd feel devastated. Thought finding out my parents had secretly disinherited me would break me. But it didn't. Instead, it clarified everything. It was the final variable in the equation. We weren't a family. We were a business. And I was the partner they were embezzling from. They didn't just steal the cash, I said. They stole the equity. They stole 5 years of my life. So, Stella said, what do? We could sue for the deed, but that takes years. No, I said. We don't sue for the deed. The house is poisoned. I walked to my drafting table. I'm a licensed contractor, Stella. I'm the architect of record for every permit pulled on that property. Stella smiled, slow, dangerous. I never billed them, I said. Because it was family. But since it's not my inheritance, I think it's time I sent an invoice. A mechanic's lien, Stella whispered. If you file for unpaid labor and materials, it takes priority. Clouds the title. And if the invoice isn't paid, I force the sale, I finished. I trigger foreclosure on my terms. They wanted the house. Fine. But they have to pay the architect. Check the clock. It was barely past 1 a.m. Let's draft the invoice. I want it ready when they land. 6 days later, the silence shattered. It shattered with elevator doors dinging on my firm's 4th floor. I was standing at reception when the doors slid open. They spilled out in a parade of misery. My father, Ronald, wearing a wrinkled shirt stained with airport coffee. My mother, Sandra, peeling from sunburn. And Bianca, poor, golden Bianca, looking tragic in a designer tracksuit, clutching Felix's arm. They'd been kicked out. When payment didn't clear, the resort had escorted them off the premises. They'd spent days scrambling for flights, probably flying economy. The humiliation radiated off them in waves. Adeline! My father's voice boomed across the sleek lobby. My receptionist, Chloe, looked terrified. I held up a hand to signal it was okay. You! He snarled, marching toward me with his suitcase clattering across the floor. You've got some explaining to do. I didn't move. I folded the proposal I was holding. Hello, Dad. Welcome back. How was the vow renewal? Don't get smart with me, he shouted. Do you have any idea what you put us through? We were humiliated. The concierge cut our wristbands off in front of other guests. Felix's parents had to pay for their own taxi. That sounds stressful, I said, voice flat. Maybe next time secure funding before booking the presidential suite. It was family money. Sandra stepped forward, trembling with martyrdom. We raised you. And this is how you repay us. By stranding your sister at the altar. She cried for 3 days. Bianca removed her sunglasses, eyes red and puffy. You ruined it, she whispered. You ruined everything because you're jealous. I had sponsors lined up. Now everyone thinks we're broke. You are broke, I said. That's the point. We are not broke. Ronald slammed his hand on the desk. We have the estate. And you ungrateful child, you're going to transfer that $45,000 back today, plus interest, or I'll ruin your career. I'll tell every client in this city what kind of person you are. I looked at them. Really looked. For years their anger had terrified me. But now they just looked small. They were threatening a demolition expert with a hammer, unaware I was holding the detonator. You're going to ruin my career, said. To break something you have to own it. And you don't own me. Or this firm. And according to my title search, you don't even own your house. My father went white. My mother gasped. Bianca froze. I know about the deed transfer, I continued. You signed the house over to Bianca 6 months ago. I know about the $150,000 loan she took against it. And I know where my money went, into your luxury villa and her lifestyle. I pulled out a thick envelope and slid it across the counter. That's an invoice. Felix opened it with shaking hands. $180,000, he read. Due immediately. It's itemized, I said. 5 years of architectural design, project management, labor and materials. You got a family discount for 3 years. I stopped it the day you signed that quitclaim deed. You can't bill us for fixing your own home, my mother cried. I wasn't fixing my home, I said. I was improving a property you tricked me into working on for free. And unpaid licensed work in Washington comes with a remedy. I tapped the stamped filing beneath the invoice. Mechanics lien. Filed this morning. The house can't be sold or refinanced until I'm paid. And since you transferred the deed, Bianca, the debt's yours. Bianca's voice cracked. I don't have that kind of money. I know. And your lender requires a clear title. My lien puts you in default. They're calling the loan due now. Silence hit like a slamming door. You're going to make us lose Grandpa's house, my father rasped. No, I said. You lost it when you treated it like a piggy bank and treated me like free labor. I'm just turning off the lights. Foreclosure starts Monday. Pay the debt or pack. They begged. Bianca screamed I was jealous. I only looked back once. You wanted the legacy. You bought it. It comes with a bill. The collapse wasn't dramatic. It was final. The bank foreclosed. The house sold to a developer. My parents ended up in a small rental, socially ruined. Bianca's marriage fell apart when the money and image did. I got my settlement check, drove into the Cascades, and bought rough land nobody wanted. I built a small A-frame with my own plans, paid every contractor on time, and kept it simple. Windows, stove, mountains, quiet. People say cutting off family is cruel. Sometimes it's surgery. It hurts, but it stops the infection. When Stella came up the path with champagne, she smiled at the cabin. It's finished. It's beautiful. It's mine, I said. Every inch. We didn't toast revenge. We toasted silence, and the kind of freedom that finally feels like home.